So hi everyone, and thanks for joining us on this well-awaited talk on hormones. And a big thank you to Kirsten for jumping on here and giving us the scoop on all things hormones. I've been very lucky to spend some time with Kirsten over the last couple of weeks in a coaching program that I'm doing with her. And she's amazing, and we're all very excited to hear from you. So I'm going to mute everyone and leave it up to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to see all of you and to be able to talk about one of my favorite topics. And so we're just going to get right into it. If you have questions as we go along, feel free to type them into the chat, although I generally don't answer questions in the middle of the class just because I get easily distracted. So I don't look at the chat, but we'll try and get back to them afterwards if people have any questions.
Sorry, Kirsten, I'm just going to mute everyone, but I don't want to mute you. So I'm going to mute all, and then will you unmute?
Yeah, perfect. Yes. There we go. Can you still hear me? All right, perfect. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our hormones. So I decided to research how to use essential oils, and I joined Young Living a little over 6 years ago, almost 6.5 years ago. And at the time, hormones weren't a big focus for me. I was really interested in learning how to keep my kids healthy, everyday uses for, things like headaches and tummy troubles and sleep, energy, sort of normal everyday things. But the more I went along, the more I realized that hormones are a huge issue for so many people. And I kept having so many people on my team come to me and say, well, I need to balance my hormones, or I'm having this issue or that issue. Like, what do I use? And I had no idea. And so about 2 years ago, I did a deep dive. I was getting ready to get pregnant again, and I wanted to make sure my own hormones were balanced. And so I gathered all the books I could find on the topic, essential oil book, as well as books on nutrition. And I just started doing some intense research. And I learned a whole lot and kind of packaged it all together. And on my team, we did a 30-day hormone reset challenge, and it was amazing. The results women were seeing out of it, because there were people who were having horribly painful periods who were able to get to get their cycle regulated and be able to move forward without any pain. There were women who had all sorts of different issues that are tied into, and we're going to talk about some of the things that are tied into hormones that you may not think are hormonally related, but are. It was just amazing to see the results that they got out of that. And so what we've done for this class is we've kind of taken the information and distilled it down into a shorter one class segment so that you can take that and do with that information what you will. So the thing that I learned in my research is that 80% of women suffer from a hormone imbalance in their lifetime. Hormones are basically the chemical messengers. They travel throughout our body, and they coordinate complex processes, everything from growth to metabolism, fertility. They can influence the function of your immune system. They can alter your behavior. Before birth, they give development of the brain and reproductive system. They're the reasons that your arms are the same length, and why you can turn food into fuel, why you can change from head to toe when you hit puberty. And thanks to these chemicals, distant parts of our body can communicate during elaborate, important events. And in a response to signals from the brain, hormones are secreted directly into the blood by glands that produce and store them. So these glands are what is known as the endocrine system, and endocrine literally means secreting internally. Chemicals that interfere with the function of hormones are therefore known as endocrine disruptors, things like common household cleaners, synthetic fragrances, etc. So the testes or ovaries, these are the gonads, and they're perhaps the most familiar endocrine glands. So in males, the testes produce sperm and secrete the male sex hormone testosterone, and in females, ovaries produce eggs and the female hormone estrogen. So it's these hormones that determine secondary sex characteristics like muscle mass and facial hair and things that make a woman look like a woman and a man look like a man. Other endocrine glands include the thyroid, pancreatic islets, and the adrenal glands. These are more for growth, metabolism, and that fight or flight response and stress. So while all cells are exposed to hormones circulating in the bloodstream, not all cells react. only a hormone's target cell, which has receptors for that hormone, is going to respond to the signal. And so what happens is the hormone binds to its receptor and it causes a biological response within the cell. And if we liken a hormone to a radio signal, then a receptor is the antenna that's picking up the signal. So without the antenna, no signal would be received and no music would exit the radio. Signaling ends when the circulating hormones are broken down and excreted by the body. So basically, imagine it being like that's a lot of information, but imagine it's like one of those old-fashioned clocks, and it has all of these gears and wheels that are turning, and it all needs to be turning in sync with each other in order for it to function correctly. And so when we have endocrine disruptors, it's like taking a handful of sand and throwing it into the workings of the clock and then expecting everything to continue working. It actually makes a lot of things grind to a halt, and our bodies simply can't function properly anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about toxins, because it honestly doesn't matter how many herbs or vitamins or oils or supplements you use if your hormones are disrupted, because your cells are no longer communicating effectively with each other. So the daily use of common household toxins in our shampoos, hand soaps, makeup, lotion, all of that, these disrupt the process. So if you've spent years exposed to common household toxins that are found in common household products and in your body products, everything from shampoos, lotions, makeup, laundry soap, cleaners, air fresheners, this has definitely had an impact on your endocrine system. So I mentioned a little bit ago endocrine disruptors. Let's take a moment and just talk about what exactly is an endocrine disruptor. Endocrine disruptors are chemical compounds that mimic or suppress the action of your own hormones. They can even change your body's weight management system. They can cause things like early puberty, PCOS, infertility, thyroid cancer, and hypothyroidism. They also alter your cell's ability to burn fats, which means weight gain. And according to the Environmental Working Group, there's no end to the tricks that endocrine disruptors can play on our bodies. They increase the production of certain hormones, they decrease the production of others, they imitate hormones, they turn one kind of hormone into another, and they just basically interfere with all the hormone signaling. They're bad news. So there's no safe level of endocrine disruptors, and yet they are found in so many common household products. They can be found in cleaners that we use, body products that we use. They can be found in fabrics, in bedding. They can be found in food. A poor diet doesn't do anyone favors, because things like pesticides, GMOs, antibiotics, and then there's also hormones that are often given to animals to make them produce more. So we're often bombarded from every side with things that are disrupting our endocrine systems. So what happens when we expose ourselves to these products, whether we mean to or not? We end up with what's called a state of estrogen dominance. And basically, estrogen dominance is a hormonal state in the body when there's too much estrogen in relation to progesterone. So for many women, this means their estrogen levels are too high, often because of xenoestrogens. And that's spelled, for those of you who are note takers, xenoestrogens. That's XENO-estrogen, xenoestrogens. These are from toxins in your household products and your personal care products. Xenoestrogens are highly toxic fake estrogens that enter the body. They often come in through our skin, and then they attach to our cells on our estrogen receptor sites. And they are what contribute to every single symptom that I mentioned earlier. They're very, very hard for our bodies to get rid of. There's many contributing factors to estrogen dominance, but the two biggest causes that make women go into a state of estrogen dominance is excess toxins. So if you have your estrogen levels are here and you add in excess toxins that have those xenoestrogens, they're going to go up and you're going to have high estrogen levels. The other thing is stress, because when your body is under stress, it causes the adrenals to release cortisol, and this robs the body of progesterone. So if your estrogen levels should normally be here, if this is estrogen and this is progesterone, as soon as you add in those toxins, your estrogen levels go up. And as soon as you add in any kind of stress, it robs the body of progesterone. And so your progesterone levels go down. So those two things can both cause you to be in a state of estrogen dominance. So one of those things can happen, or the other, or both. And that's why so many women are estrogen dominant. The longer you stay under stress, the more depleted your body becomes of progesterone, and the more estrogen dominance can occur. So adequate progesterone levels are absolutely essential to oppose the harmful effects of excess estrogen. The tricky part is that while there's a lot of wonderful research available on the benefits of a pure plant-based USB progesterone like the Progessence Plus that Young Living has, most doctors do not differentiate it from progestin. And I want you to listen very carefully, because progestin that doctors prescribe is a fake version of progesterone, and it is not the same thing as a plant-based progesterone. Progestins are synthetic, and unlike natural progesterone, progestins cannot be utilized as precursors to the other hormones, and they're very hard for the body to break down and eliminate from our systems. But even doctors are confused about it, because drug companies often market progestins, which are the bad ones, the fake ones. They will market them as progesterone. So progestins often get labeled as progesterone, and medical journals will use those terms interchangeably. But it's very, very important that you realize that progestins and the natural plant-based progesterones are completely different in how they interact with your body. It's a widely held belief that they have the same actions on the body and the same side effects and risk factors, but they absolutely do not. Pure plant-based USB grade progesterone is a building block for other sex hormones and the adrenal cortical hormones responsible for your stress responses, for your blood sugar. They can make a huge difference in your body. You want that good, all-natural version of progesterone. Progesterone literally means progestation, and so having balanced progesterone levels is one of the things that can help women who are having a hard time conceiving naturally. It can help women get pregnant when they have those balanced. Again, if you're thinking about being estrogen dominant and you have the toxins causing your estrogen to go high and stress causing your progesterone to go low, it's very difficult to have healthy fertility and conceive normally when you're out of balance like that. It basically helps the body use fat for energy. It counteracts estrogenic effects by balancing estrogen and progesterone ratios. Pure plant-based progesterone possesses identical likeness in its molecular structure to the progesterone our body will naturally create. That's why our body's able to recognize it and use it as the same hormone. And then one last thing is there's a little bit of confusion about estrogen dominance, and some people think that in order to be estrogen dominant, your estrogen has to be really high. But as I mentioned, your estrogen could be at a fairly normal level, but if your progesterone is low, you're still going to be estrogen dominant because your estrogen is not in balance with your progesterone. All right, so let's just talk about what we can do about it. So there's no judgment because we're all in different stages of where we are with getting our home detoxed and using good, natural, clean products. And there's no perfect model of people doing this. But it is possible to, piece by piece, get the toxic products out and start using natural ones. We have one body and everything is pretty interrelated. So every good thing we do causes a domino effect of health for the body, just like every bad thing we do kind of can cause a domino effect of sickness. So estrogen and progesterone have significant effects on the health of our GI tract. When these imbalances come, we will actually have symptoms that don't necessarily seem related to hormones. Things like diarrhea, nausea, abdominal pain, bloating, constipation. A lot of those things that we think are digestive issues can actually be hormonal en route. But the good news is that we can eat better and provide ourselves with the nutrients and the nourishment and the kinds of foods and supplements that will help us to detox in order to help correct this problem. Our digestive system plays an important role in the proper disposal of estrogen from the body, because basically if our bowels don't function properly, estrogen that's meant to be excreted by the intestines is sometimes recycled and then reabsorbed into our bloodstream. And again, that it contributes towards that estrogen dominance. There's a really great book that Dr. Paul Lin wrote about optimal digestive health, and he talks about natural progesterone and how it can be really helpful for the gut's healing process. He frequently recommends progesterone for women with digestive disorders because it actually will help to fix and heal the digestive disorders once they get their hormones in balance. All right. So let's talk briefly about everyone's at a different place. So some of you have already stopped using any toxic products in your homes, but some of you are still on that journey and still figuring out how to do that. So real quick, let's talk about that. We need to clean up the toxins in our body and help nourish our liver through that process, because our liver is what filters all those toxins out. And if it gets overloaded, we're going to experience all sorts of nasty health problems. So where to start? Basically, and I don't know what the labeling laws are in South Africa. So I'm speaking obviously from a US perspective, but I'm sure there are some things in common, and this is probably something you guys have discussed in your classes. But we have in North America, we have a huge problem with greenwashing. Greenwashing is basically a popular term for what happens when rather than, people used to whitewash walls, and didn't matter if a wall was dirty or clean, they could paint it white and it looks clean. Greenwashing is when they greenwash products. So basically they will label products, whether or not they are actually healthy or natural or non-toxic, they will label them as natural or organic or non-toxic when they actually aren't, when they have toxic ingredients in them. But because they know they can sell them for more money, they love to throw around buzzwords like all natural, even if it's not all natural. So what we do is we learn to find out where the biggest offenders hide and what to look for when we're looking for natural products or making our own. And one of the biggest things that you can look for when you're looking is, does something have an artificial fragrance in it? And if there's an ingredients list, it could be labeled as fragrance or parfum. It could be labeled as perfume. Any of those terms in the ingredients list means that it has artificial fragrances, and artificial fragrances can contain up to 300 different nasty chemicals, hormone disruptors, xenoestrogens, and they don't have to label it necessarily. Again, I'm not super familiar with the labeling laws in South Africa, so someone can feel free to correct me if it's different there. But I just know that by removing products that contain artificial fragrances, that's a really, really great start for getting rid of the nastiest, most toxic ingredients that are going to cause us problems with our hormones. The other thing that we can really do is support our bodies using essential oils and supplements that are supporting our hormones. So getting rid of the things that are causing our body's extra hormonal stress is important, and eliminating those bad things is a good thing to do. But we can also support our bodies once we've removed those endocrine disruptors so that they can function normally. So essential oils are such an amazing tool for that. Essential oils are highly concentrated. They're aromatic essences of trees and shrubs and herbs and roots and grasses. And they're not like the olive oil or the coconut oil or some of the other oils we use in our home. They're greaseless. They absorb very, very quickly into the body, and they can work therapeutically to help balance our hormones, to help get our digestion on track, and they do so many wonderful things for our bodies. Essential oils actually have this is really cool. So they have a DNA blueprint of hormones, enzymes, and proteins. So for instance, DiGize is not an enzyme, but it has a blueprint for your body. And Progessence Plus has the blueprint for hormones, but it's not actually hormonal. So Young Living is the only company to incorporate essential oils into our supplements, and this makes them exponentially more bioavailable and effective. They help us get the toxins out of our homes, and they help to get the nourishing ingredients into our bodies. So the top 10 products and oils that I like to use when we're talking about hormonal balance, we'll just go through one at a time. So the first one is Ningxia Red. Ningxia Red is Young Living superfruit supplement. It's made from wolfberries from the province of China, and it has citrus oils in it. It's highly detoxing, and it really just helps the body balance everything. There was one girl on my team, we did a Ningxia Red challenge where everyone was drinking Ningxia Red for a month, and she had major hormonal struggles and super painful periods. Like, she had to take off of work and was in bed for a week every month because she was she was just in so much pain. And when she did the Ningxia Red challenge, her next monthly period that started surprised her and started without her even knowing it was coming, because she felt nothing. She felt completely normal. She was able to go about her business, and she was just stunned. And she wasn't doing the challenge to balance her hormones. That wasn't her goal in doing the challenge. She just did it because she was like, well, I guess I want to get healthier, and everyone's talking about Ningxia Red, so I'll just try it. And so it was such a fantastic surprise for her to see that it helped her with her hormones as much as it did. Just because our bodies are so interconnected, and sometimes we're missing key nourishing ingredients that we really, really need. Next are a few of the products, and I'm not sure which ones of these you guys have, but any of the products that have Juva in the name are for supporting the liver. So Juvatone, Juvaflex, Detoxzyme, these are all really, really wonderful for liver support. And supporting our liver is really important when we're doing this detox process, because our liver is what helps to filter out toxins. And so we want to give especially when in the beginnings, when we're trying to clean our body out, we want to give our liver all the support that we possibly can. The other one is Life9. Life9 is our probiotic, and it's really, really important to make sure that we always have good probiotics coming in to replenish the gut and get our gut balanced, because gut balance is very important for hormonal balance. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the really specific hormone supports. So Indaflex. This is a really, really wonderful blend that everybody needs to incorporate on a daily basis. It supports a balanced endocrine system, and it's not just for women. Indaflex is great for men, it's great for women, it's great for kids. This just supports and balances the endocrine system. So even kids who are going through growth spurts, all the way up through women who are in menopause. This, every time your endocrine system gets a little bit out of whack, it can help bring it back into balance. It contains spearmint, which is great for your metabolism. We know our metabolism is critical for burning fat. So since fat's hormonally active, excess fat can lead to estrogen dominance. Supporting the metabolism is super important. So spearmint is great for supporting the metabolism. Plus, it supports the nervous and glandular systems. It also contains sage, which supports both estrogen and progesterone production in the body. It's also good for menstrual support. It contains myrtle, which supports the thyroid and ovaries. It contains German chamomile, which supports the liver. It has nutmeg, which supports the adrenal glands for increased energy. And it has geranium, which supports, it helps to balance hormones, and it stimulates liver and pancreas. So it's really the ultimate blend for balance. That's everything we're talking about, is making sure that everything is balanced. You can also put a roll-on fitment on and apply topically over your lower back, over your thyroid, your kidney, liver, feet, glandular areas. You can apply it every day. It's just good to like rotate through different application sites. Okay, the next one is Progessence Plus. So Progessence Plus is a game changer for so many women, and I am not sure if you guys get it now, but I think Ali said you're going to be getting it soon if you don't. So this is a pure USB grade progesterone serum. It's obtained from wild yams. Studies have shown that topical application of progesterone and other hormone creams actually have a way better absorption rate than when taken orally. So the fact that it's topical is wonderful. Plus they have some essential oils blended with it, which it increases its absorption into your cells. And it smells really, really good, the blend of oils that they put in with it. I think it has copaiba, sacred frankincense, cedarwood, bergamot, peppermint, and clove. It's delightful. It smells really, really wonderful. So basically that one you apply to daily to soft tissue areas up to twice per day. If you're menstruating, you can, the recommendation is to start after your menstrual cycle ends on like day 7 to 10 of your cycle, and use it every day up until your cycle begins, and then stop during your cycle. I know that some women use it all the time, even during their cycle, with great results. So it's one of those things you kind of have to try out and see how it affects your body, and how your body responds. The next one is Dragon Thyme. So Dragon Thyme is an essential oil blend that contains natural phytoestrogens. Phyto being spelled P-H-Y-T-O. Phyto means plant, and so that is a different thing than the xenoestrogens that we talked about earlier. Xenoestrogens are bad. Phytoestrogens are good. Okay, just so that you have an idea, there's a difference. This one helps to balance emotions, especially during your monthly cycle, but it's also helpful for mature women or women who are going through menopause, who, if you need estrogen level support, or for during hot flashes. I know a lot of women will use this during hot flashes. They'll just put a little bit on their wrists or their neck, and it helps a lot. I see that there's comments coming in, but I can't read them right now, so I will scroll back and look at those later. So unlike xenoestrogens, which come from toxins and petrochemicals and are associated with higher risks for estrogen dominance and all those related symptoms that we talked about earlier, phytoestrogens are primarily comprised of a class of compounds known as isoflavones and flavins. These have been found to interact with estrogen receptors, and they demonstrate like a weak yet beneficial estrogenic effect. And the isoflavones from natural plant sources, they actually can work to displace those more toxic estrogens that have attached to the breast cell receptor sites. And so these phytoestrogens will actually go in and kick out those bad xenoestrogens that are attached to your cells. And this contributes towards the balance of hormones that you want, especially when you're using them during that time of month when your body requires a little bit more estrogen for normal function. So when you're using this, you can apply it topically on your wrists. You can apply it over your ovaries. And if you're someone who gets some premenstrual discomfort, you can use it 1 to 3 days before your period begins and use it during your cycle. For mature women, using it for hot flashes and other estrogen balancing, just use it as needed. There's no particular schedule you have to do it on. Some women find that sclerescence, that's another one that provides estrogen support. Some women like sclerescence as opposed to Dragon Thyme, because we all have different, our biochemistry is different for each person. So if Dragon Thyme doesn't do the trick for you, try sclerescence instead. It's a blend that supports balanced hormones with the phytoestrogens the same way. It just has slightly different oils, but just like we have, several things, you can try different oils for a headache, and some things work better for some people than others. Same thing. Some oils and blends are going to work better for some people. So yes, let's see here. The sclerescence, it contains clary sage, Spanish sage, peppermint, and fennel. Sclerescence is good. It can actually be added to Ningxia or to green tea. It's really good for women after menopause and anyone supporting their estrogen. A couple of other supplements that I'm going to mention. I'm not sure if you guys have them, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but Cortistop, it contains natural progesterone and hormone precursors like pregnenolone. It basically helps to support the glandular system. And this one's really good for people who are under constant stress. So if you're under perpetual ongoing stress, Cortistop can really, really help. And you don't take it constantly. I believe that you take it for 8 weeks, and then you take a break for 2 to 4 weeks, and then you can take it for 8 weeks again. Then there's Thiramine. Thiramine is for supporting the thyroid, which is your energy gland. It's the energy gland of the body, and it produces T3 and T4 thyroid hormones, and this helps to control your metabolism. Basically, it's like the thermostat of your body. So the pituitary gland signal the thyroid when to produce thyroid hormones. The thyroid can both underproduce or overproduce thyroid hormones, which can cause various problems depending on if it's underproducing or overproducing. So our goal is to nourish and keep the thyroid balanced and happy. Thiramine was developed to nurse the thyroid, to balance metabolism, and it contains a combination of glandular hormones, herbs, amino acids, minerals, and essential oils to just help perfectly support the thyroid. So when you're looking at these different oils and supplements, obviously the list I've given you is not exhaustive. Young Living has other supplements and other oils. It's just to kind of narrow some of them down and give you a starting point. So let's talk about, kind of break it into age groups. If you're under 30, you're still at an age where your hormone production should be pretty normal, as it doesn't start to decline until you get closer to menopause. However, if you've been exposed to toxins through household cleaners, beauty and skincare products, or other things in your environment, or if you deal with a lot of stress, you could easily be headed towards estrogen dominance. So Progessence Plus is wonderful, and you can use that to stay balanced. Indoflex is one that I recommend for men and women of all ages. And then if your monthly cycles give you trouble, Dragon Time could be your new best friend. Like, it can really, really help when you're on or right before your period. If you're over 30, the older we get, the more time our bodies have to accumulate toxins and the effects of stress. So supporting our progesterone levels becomes more and more important. It's really important that we're really actively making sure that we're removing toxins from our environment. And I'll pause to say that people often underestimate how much damage toxins can do. But I have multiple women on my team who were trying to achieve pregnancy or had various different chemical toxic symptoms that their doctors diagnosed them with various different diseases and wanted to put them on medicine for their whole life. So basically autoimmune diseases that were not going to go away. And so they wanted to prescribe the medicines and just basically have them on forever. And women in both of these situations, both having infertility, unexplained infertility, and unexplained autoimmune disorders, they really got to work at getting rid of the chemicals in their homes. And within a year, both of them, once they got all of the chemicals out of their home and stopped using toxic skincare product and stopped using toxic cleaners and started supporting their bodies and detoxing, both of them, the girl, well, there's a couple of girls who were really, really sick, got better and were able to get off all of their meds. And then the girl who was trying to get pregnant, within a year, her infertility had disappeared and she got pregnant. And this was not, at that point, she was not supplementing with a lot of stuff. She was simply cleaning her home out of all of those toxins. And so I can't stress highly enough how important it is to get rid of the toxins, no matter what age you are. Okay, back to talking about the over 30s. So if you're over 30, again, Indoflex is for everybody. You can use it on yourself, your kids, your partner, anyone who has hormones, which is everybody, can be using Indoflex. It supports the entire endocrine system. Like I said, to those that are under 30, if you need extra support around your cycle, Dragon Time is the first one to try. If you try Dragon Time and it's not quite doing it for you, then switch over and try the Sclerescence. Everybody's different. And if you lead a high stress life, Cortistop is really helpful. And then I really, really love, I'm in my 30s, and I really, really love Progessence Plus. I think the biggest benefit I noticed when I started using it, because I started using it in preparation for getting pregnant with my final pregnancy. And one of the biggest side benefits that I wasn't expecting is that I used to wake up in the middle of the night and have like intense middle of the night anxiety. and I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. My mind would be racing. I had no problem falling asleep at the beginning of the night, but I would wake up at like 3:30 a.m. and then wouldn't be able to fall back asleep for a couple of hours. And as soon as I started using the Progessence Plus, I was able to sleep through the night, and I was not having those sort of nighttime panic attacks anymore. I had no idea that those were hormonally related, but they went away as soon as I started using the Progessence Plus. So that was definitely a big improvement for me as far as being able to get good sleep. Okay, mature women. So if you are a mature woman, maybe you're nearing or have already passed menopause, or you're right in the thick of it. When we get older, our natural hormone production drops to the point of no longer sustaining ovulation and menstruation. So it typically takes place between the ages of 45 and 60, although some women experience it sooner. In American women, estrogen levels drop 40 to 60%, but the hormone is still produced. In most women, progesterone production actually drops down to almost zero. So this obviously can lead to a state of estrogen dominance, even if a woman's estrogen levels aren't super high. Like maybe they're producing less estrogen than they originally were, but when their progesterone levels drop to zero, they're still in a state of estrogen dominance. And because those lowered estrogen levels in the golden years can lead to a variety of unpleasant symptoms, doctors often prescribe hormone replacement therapy. But evidence has grown that synthetic hormones have been shown to increase the development of a variety of cardiovascular problems, including blood clots, heart attacks, as well as increasing the risk of cancer. So it is possible to support the body through menopause naturally. The Progessence Plus is a staple for menopausal women. USB grade progesterone is quickly becoming recognized as a viable option for women who want to safely and effectively maintain and support their bodies through menopause. Endoflex is still highly recommended for its overall endocrine support. The Sclarescence is helpful. I don't have the Sclarescence with me. I used it up, so that's why I'm reaching for it, but I don't have it. Sclarescence is helpful for providing safe and healthy phytoestrogens as the natural estrogen levels decline. And actually, some women find dragon thyme oil good for that. Generally, and I'm not sure why, generally, menopausal women, for supporting their estrogen levels, tend towards wanting to use Sclarescence or Lady Sclareol. That's another blend. But some women like that dragon thyme. I think dragon thyme is more popular with younger women just because of the name dragon thyme going along with their period. But both of them are going to help with that estrogen support. Cortistop is extremely helpful if you deal with chronic stress. It helps maintain those normal cortisol levels and support glandular function. And if you know your thyroid needs support and you want to give it back and give that extra kick, Thiamine is amazing. It nourishes the thyroid. It supports the metabolism. Also, I don't know if you guys have Ningxia Nitro, but Ningxia Nitro contains 50% of your daily dose of iodine, which is crucial for thyroid function. So in addition to giving that safe, natural, healthy energy boost without all the caffeine, it has iodine, which is really important. So a lot of times people wonder, like, okay, if I start doing this, how long till I see some results? As with all healthy lifestyle choices, supplements, oils, exercise, these need to be part of your routine and they need to be a daily habit in order to start affecting change. So it's a lot like the food that you eat, and there's not a magic bullet that's going to fix everything in one dose, right? From my own research, I've learned that it can take up to 4 months to notice big changes and for things to really balance themselves out over several cycles. And with Progessence Plus, for instance, things might seem worse before they get better. There's a wonderful book called Taming the Dragon Within. It's a wonderful resource for learning a little bit more about progesterone and why you might need it. But basically, the key is giving your body all the tools it needs to balance itself day in and day out. It's choosing to take your hormones and health off of the back burner and to make them a priority. And this will make it a big difference over time. You just have to be patient. You have to be consistent in sticking with it and nourishing your body. Women on my team have regained their fertility, ones whose doctors told them they would be on meds forever when they were miserable and in pain. You know, when they did the work to eliminate toxins and support their bodies, they're now thriving and healthy. So it is possible. You can do this. And I believe as women, we deserve to do this and to teach others how to do it. So, yeah, that's what I've learned. I'm always happy to share it. I am going to copy and paste, and I know that you guys may not be able to get all the same books, but I am going to copy and paste my book list for you, simply because if you are able to get some of these books through your local booksellers, they're really, really wonderful. And there's also some podcasts and stuff. So let me put that to the chat. Oh, there's so many questions and comments here. Maybe that was too long. Let's see. Has a maximum amount. Okay, so there's some of the books, and grab the others here. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll back up through the chat and just see if there is any questions. Yeah, labeling laws are not any better in South Africa. I have a feeling that they're not good anywhere. I know in South Africa, things have to be labeled from the highest quantity of product first to the least, but it can still be advertised as the least named product being dominant in marketing. Yeah, that's the same way it is here. They have to put the largest ingredients first, but that doesn't mean that a small amount of a toxic ingredient, even if it's the end, it doesn't mean it's not going to do damage. Indiflex assisted my daughter diagnosed with endometriosis more than the medication offered. That's amazing. I've been using Indiflex for low cortisone for 3 months and haven't seen improvements. Cortistop might be helpful. I don't know if you guys have Cortistop or not. Progestins plus checking time. Looks like a lot of you answered each other's questions. I believe Thyromin does contain animal products. I don't think a lot of our products are plant-based, but that particular one, I believe, contains animal products. Allie can tell you a lot more about that one because I know she uses it. Anxiety and sleepless nights. I was using the Progestins Plus. That was the one that I mentioned that was really helpful for me. Look at you guys answering each other's questions. It's so wonderful. Okay. All right, does anyone have any other questions? I'm still going through these, but if you have any others, feel free to type it in the chat. Yeah, often I've heard that however many, and you know, it's different for different people, but I've heard that however many years you've exposed yourselves to toxins or unhealthy foods, it can take that many months to reset your body to a healthy point. So if you have been 40 years of eating unhealthy or using toxic products, it could take up to 40 months, which sounds like a long time, but the good news is that it does happen. So it's not 100% hormonal story, but I used to really, really struggle with yeast infections. It started when I had my first son and we lived in a little apartment that had some mold in the bathroom. And ever since then, I had struggled with yeast infections. And over time, I found out that I was allergic to most of the medications that they were trying to use on me. And when I started taking probiotics and drinking kefir. I don't know if you guys have kefir, but it's a probiotic similar to yogurt. It's a milk-based probiotic drink that you can make yourself. And I started using that. And as long as I used that on a daily basis, I didn't have yeast infections. And over time, it healed my gut. And so it just became part of my daily lifestyle to use it, and I didn't have any problems. But if I stopped using it, it would come back. And over time, I could go longer and longer times in between. And after about 5 years of just putting it in my smoothies every day and making it a habit, I got rid of my yeast infections completely, and my gut was balanced again. And that seems like a long time, but it wasn't a painful process. It was just making a habit of doing something healthy that nourished my body. So it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it to take care of these things now, and also to set the example for our daughters. Teach our daughters how to take care of their bodies now so that they can grow up and not have to deal with all of the problems and the things that we've had to deal with. It definitely makes a huge, huge difference. This is a good question. How do these oils and supplements interact with traditional long-term birth control like IUDs or the slow releasing implants? You should definitely, it can be different with different birth control, and you should definitely ask your doctor if you feel like it's going to interact. I personally quit using hormone birth control many years ago because I read all the side effects, and I decided I would rather do it naturally. And so I switched to a fertility awareness method instead. Obviously, that's not a good fit for everyone, but that's what I needed to do because I just couldn't do the birth control for my body. And so as far as interactions with drugs, you'll have to ask your doctor about that. What I do know is that these are, when you're using, especially with the oils that are all plant-based, and you're using these products, they are much less likely to interact or cause you problems than adding another drug in would be. But you can talk to your doctor and ask them. You can show them the ingredients and see if they have any input on that. What should women take for having had a full hysterectomy? So women that have had a full hysterectomy, your body often is not producing the hormones you need. And so taking a good balance of, or using all of these ones that we talked about can really, really help, because it just gives your body that boost. So the Indiflex is, if you've had a hysterectomy, the Indiflex is wonderful. Sclerosins is wonderful. Progestins Plus is wonderful, because your body still needs those hormones. So just because it can't produce them in the quantities it needs anymore does not mean that it no longer needs them. And it can really, really help you, especially with moods or libido, or things that are caused by not having the hormones, that they're going to help a lot. I would say that these three, or you can replace the sclerosins with the Dragon Time or vice versa, but those three would be the top ones. I'm just trying to scroll through these. PD8020 is wonderful for if your DHEA is low. That's true. Yes, Shutron. So most of these ones I was talking about are specifically for women. Indiflex can be used by men as well, but generally the Progestins Plus and the Dragon Time are for women. There's a whole other list of ones you can use for men. Men do great with Shutron, or there's a supplement called Powergize that is wonderful for them. I didn't get into that just because this was mostly women on here, and that's a whole nother talk, but there's a lot of really good ones for men as well. I will send, some of you are asking for the recording. I was not in charge of recording it because I'm not the host, but I believe that Addie and Allie are recording it. So you'll have to ask them for the recording of it, because I'm just attending as a guest like all of you guys. Okay. How many suggestions for how many drops of the oils? I generally am using, with Progestins Plus, a lot of women find this one to be very strong. So a lot of women will start with 1 drop and then work their way up to 3 or 4, depending on how their body reacts. And a lot of times they can tell right away if it's too much, and then they'll scale back. They'll be able to kind of feel in their body if it's too much. With the Dragon Time, when I'm using Dragon Time around my period, I generally am using like 3 drops, and I rub it over my ovaries, because I usually am having some kind of discomfort. With Indiflex, I use 3 to 5 drops at a time. So that's generally around 3 drops is good for me. Let's see. Okay. Some of these I can't speak to as far as drug interactions or what to replace. Like, that's not my area of expertise, is not replacing drugs. And I also don't want to, I'm not your doctor. So if you have specific questions and you want to reach out to me or Allie, you're welcome to. But my goal is to show you guys how you can work on naturally balancing. And once your hormone levels are balanced, then you're able to go to your doctor and talk about weaning off of drugs. What you don't want to do is like throw your drugs away and try and use oils and stuff instead. Get your hormones balanced using these, and then go talk to your doctor and say, hey, let's test my hormone levels and see if they're more balanced and see if I still need these things or not. Rather than, I'm not going to tell you to not use drugs that you may be on. That is not my place to do that. Yes, women can take PowerGize to help balance testosterone too. Thank you for mentioning that. That was something that I forgot to put in my notes, but have had several women give testimonies about how PowerGize helped to balance their testosterone. Blue spruce is another one that if you don't have PowerGize there yet, blue spruce is an oil that men use for hormone balancing, and so that can also help with the testosterone levels. Okay, wonderful. Yes, Mister has blue spruce in it as well. And yes, you can ingest Indoflex in capsules. Some people put it in their Ningxia Red, some people put it in tea, some people put it in capsules. All right, thank you everyone so much for coming. You guys have been a wonderful class. I really, really appreciate all of you. And I hope that this has been helpful. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to myself or to Allie on Facebook. Allie she wasn't here today, but she has been to this class before, so she is very, very knowledgeable. And you guys are so, so lucky to have her as a resource. Addie, thank you so much for hosting and getting it all set up for me. I appreciate all of you. All right.
Thanks, Kirsten. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
If everyone wanted to save the chat, because there's quite a lot of chat, you can click those 3 little buttons on the side and then actually download the whole chat if you want. Bye, everyone. I'm going to end the call.
Bye.